Good evening, everybody. I trust and hope that you've all had a wonderful time here tonight so far. Wonderful. A little shorter than that. So, we've heard a lot of stories from youth tonight. We've heard many examples of how organizations like SMYAL mean the world of difference to youth who feel lost and alone, or are perhaps alone in their situations. The story I'm going to tell you is a little bit different. It's a story that can be summarized a few different ways. It can be considered a moment of change in my life and in who I was and in my situation. It can be considered a dichotomy, an example of night and day between actions of parents that can kill or can save their children. But usually when I summarize this story, I call it Turtle Cake Name Story. Because I'm not terribly creative with names. So as you'll find, a turtle, a cake, and a name are three key components of this story here tonight. Now, I came out to my mother before my 15th birthday, but as I was in a conservative family, it was something that I was not allowed to tell other people. Especially my father. That was really the main hold-up, because in my mother's words, he wasn't used to the lesbian thing yet. And I suppose another month would have given him time to warm up to that before we hit him with the boy thing. But so I told her before my 15th birthday, but my 15th birthday was fast approaching, and the closer we got to my 15th birthday, the more anxiety-ridden I became, the more upset I was, because I knew that I was going to have to spend another birthday as the birthday girl, and I couldn't do that, and I knew I couldn't do that. So we had fights, plenty of fights leading up to the day, and as things drew closer, I got more volatile in my state, in my mood, in my emotions. And the night before, I sent her one more desperate plea: please let me tell my father, please let me tell my family, I can't be the birthday girl again. And I was told that I was being selfish, and I was trying to make this all about me, my birthday. So I went to bed incredibly miserable and with a plan in mind. If it was not going to be my birthday, then I wasn't going to participate. And further, that evening, I had planned to kill myself. I didn't, thankfully, and the reason was because I woke up on the morning of my 15th birthday, and I rolled out of bed, and I was catatonic with grief and with pain, because again, I was going to be the birthday girl. When I worked up the courage to share with my mother something that had been killing me for so long, and that was that I was a boy. And I expected, and should have expected, to be able to step into a life existing as who I really was. Now, she, of course, identified my mood as another attempt to ruin the day and to be selfish. And so we had a fight, and I went upstairs again. I went up to my room and stayed there, and then I came down a few minutes later, and I found that our Walmart sheet cake, and importantly, I have a twin brother who shares the day with me, as he is my twin brother. And so we always, by tradition, will get a Walmart sheet cake with both of our names on it. And I came downstairs, and I saw that the sheet cake had my brother's name on it, but then it had my name given at birth. And so I lost my mind. I screamed and I threw things. Couldn't you have just left the names off the cake? If you were going to put me through this, couldn't you have given me at least that? At least a happy birthday. What was wrong with happy birthday if you were going to put me through this? And so I went back up into my room, and I decided for sure, finally, I wasn't going to come back out until the festivities were over. I had my note, my goodbye note, laid out neatly, and a plan in place. So my father comes up into my room sometime later. This was before the family had started arriving. And he had this look on his face, this very awkward, we don't have the kind of relationship where we talk about anything but especially feelings, but talk to me about your feelings kind of look on his face. And he said, your mom said you're having some problems. And I said, Mom said I can't tell you. So then it became Mom's problem. And if there's any youth in the room tonight, I assure you that's a wonderful way to go about things. And if there's any mothers in the crowd tonight, you're welcome. And so my father went out to find my mom and said, exactly what am I not allowed to know? So then and there, she told my father, you have 2 sons. His name is Gavin. That's how it is. If you don't like it, hit the road. And then she called all of my family. All of my conservative, most of whom still champion Trump, not ready for that kind of announcement family, and told them all the same thing. Throw out the pink cards, get rid of it. It doesn't have a place in our house from here on out. This is Gavin. He is a boy. Don't bring a card if you have to, and don't show up if you're not going to respect this. So infiltrate a bunch of yeah, absolutely. And so there comes the dichotomy. We'll get to the turtle in a bit. And so infiltrated a bunch of people with the same kind of awkward, we don't talk about emotions, and also the only frame of reference for trans people I have is a late night comedy sketch. So people are filtering in, they're not actually talking at all, and not to me especially. And we get some awkward hugs, some nods, some no one actually opened their mouth to speak for most of that evening, I think. And so everything's going well-ish. I'm a boy at that birthday party, as far as they're concerned, so everything was going very well, in my perspective. But importantly, the cake still was a problem. And it was a detail I overlooked and should have gotten to sooner. Pardon me. Now, to back up a little bit before the family gets here, my mother calls me back downstairs after telling my dad what the situation is, after telling my family what the situation is. And even though she tells me the news that she's told my family, I want to know part of it. I was grief-stricken, I was depressed, I was, even though that was fantastic news, I was still just so bedded down with misery. But she directed me to the cake, and she had wiped off the wrong name and in expired green gel icing somewhere from the deepest recesses of our cabinets, she had written Gavin. And so the family starts filtering in, and then the aforementioned twin brother comes down the stairs, and the family's already here. I don't know why it took him so long to get on scene, but he goes down and he looks at the cake, and he's saying hi to everybody, and he's not really reading the tension in the room. He looks down at the cake, and he says, "Why is the turtle's name on the cake?" Now, months before, he had found a turtle. He just found a turtle, and it was then named Gavin, which my mother swears she did not know when she selected my name. We don't have that turtle anymore, and should never have kept it in the first place. Poor little guy. So he comes down, and that's the first thing he's saying to my family members, who are, again, awkward, not opening their mouths to actually talk. And so it dawns on myself and my mother that no one told my brother. And my awkward, conservative, confused family members do not want to be at the forefront of that realization. So they just, it is? Cool. So my mom kind of nudges me and says, "This one's yours?" Now, my brother, much like my dad, is someone at the time, we didn't have that kind of relationship where we talked about feelings. So this was going to be weird. And so I take him aside in the other room, and I say, "Hey, so that's not the turtle's name. That's my name. I'm transgender. I'm a boy." And he just kind of blank slate, like no expression on his face at all. And not even the confusion evident in his response. He says, "No, you're not," and scampers out of the room. But no mention of that turtle the rest of the night. So I think he got the message. Now, that was the day that I was allowed to live as myself, as a boy, to not just within my circles, not just privately with my mom, but to my entire family, and from then on out, that's how it was. And in my mom's words, if you don't like it, don't show up. Unfortunately, plenty of youth don't get to live to see that moment happen for them. SMYAL is an organization that makes sure that more youth are able to do that. They facilitate the growth and health and well-being of youth who need it the most. I'm incredibly honored to be here tonight speaking to all of you, and I hope you have a fantastic evening, and thank you so much to SMYAL.
And so on behalf of SMYAL, we'd like to present Gavin with the Community Advocate Award.